What's up, everybody? Welcome to Casual Shenanigans Tech. We are the number one little brother podcast to Casual Shenanigans Gaming, and we focus on helping you with your computer.
We finally met a milestone, yeah!
we focus on helping you with your computer-related questions and talking about what's new in the world of specifically PC gaming and PC peripherals. I am Jeremiah, one of your hosts. I'm joined by Dave.
Hey, guys.
And James.
What's up?
So basically the same group that's on Casual Shenanigans Gaming for the last month when Joel's been gone. It's the exact same group. We're just here now doing this. So how you guys doing? All
good.
Right. So yeah,
pretty good.
Fine. Yeah,
I mean,
fine.
that's all right, I guess.
Okay. All right. Let's just not beat around the bush here. We know why we're here. It's time to begin the show like we always do with the Rig Report. Just wait and see if anyone's going to sing. I don't remember if we had a song for that. I feel like James probably did something last time he was on.
I think James sang like a little like newscaster tune, and I went like, the Rig Report. But it's been a while. I don't know, actually.
That sounds familiar. Well, anyway, that's the section that we're in right now. Have you guys done anything to your computers recently? Your computers or someone else's computer?
I put the new CPU cooler on. That's about it.
You got a Hyper G12?
Yep.
How do you like it?
It's quiet. I mean, it gets a little loud, obviously, when I'm gaming, but it's significantly quieter than my other one. Like, the other one's starting to get that dull whine after a while.
The coil whine of the fan. Yeah.
So, but it's a big beast. It's a big beast.
Was it hard to get the backing plate on? Like, it was your first time doing a Hyper 212, right?
Yeah. No, I didn't have much problem getting the back plate on.
Okay.
Because my board has room to do all that. Mm-hmm. I mean, my case has room to do all that. I didn't have to take too much apart.
Well, usually where people run into frustration is when you have to put the spring-loaded piece on top of the base of the heatsink and then get them all to line up and then tension them down with the springs. Usually that's where people find frustration if it's their first time doing it. So if you did all that and you weren't frustrated, that's good.
I'm not going to say I wasn't frustrated. I'm frustrated often.
It just wasn't special frustration?
Yeah, it didn't feel any different than normal.
Cool. Have you monitored your temperatures to see how good they are?
Yeah, actually, I'll check right now, right as we are recording. So I'll give you live numbers.
Live update.
So they're running in between 38 and the highest one's 47.
Okay, with you like recording your audio and doing a few other little things. Man, that's not terrible. Dave, have you done anything?
Yeah, actually. I feel like I'm pushing my luck after, what is it, like months now of me going, man, everything just works and everything's just how I want it. And it's all arranged and it's just nice.
You're hearing it here first. Dave got SLI.
That's right. 2 9080 Ti's, and I'm not eating next month. They can't make me pay rent if they can't find me. I guess probably just follow the heat from the cards. No, I went for Windows 10 finally. Actually, it was really painless. It took 30 minutes to install and like back to my desktop. And all that changed was it uninstalled an old version of CPU-Z that I forgot I had installed. And I had to manually install my sound drivers because old creative sound cards are the devil. Thanks, Jeremiah.
For your free card, you are welcome.
For my free cheapskate graphics card, Edgar came back.
It was like $100.
No, for me, it's a cheapskate. It's 5 years old and it's free. It's replacing the card that I literally stole from Edgar's computer and then asked about later. But he came back and wanted to rebuild his computer, so I had to give him his sound card back. But yeah, Windows 10, really painless installation. Sound card drivers up to date now, and everything's working great. Like, I mean, everything transferred, even my changes to my Skype profile that deletes the obnoxious video ads that play nonstop. Like,
nice.
Everything just works.
Now, did you have to force it to start, or was it already just ready to go? Up, like, giving you the notification every week?
Yeah, it's been nagging me since the launch in July. Like, it's been really obnoxious, honestly. I was planning on doing it at launch, but there were just a couple of issues where people are saying like, there's a few things that just need a couple of patches just to iron things out. So I decided to wait. And plus, like, my installation at 8.1, I loved it. It was set up perfectly. And so I'm very glad that everything just transferred over.
I have to say, of the 3 computers that I've, 2 out of 3 of the computers, I actually went to 10 on. I've had to force all 3 of them because of Windows Update just not getting past a certain point.
Oh, wow.
So, this was a problem early on. I'm sure they fixed some of it by now. But I had to basically go in and do a terminal command to basically force it to start doing the update.
My Windows is a lot needier than that. It asks me like twice a day now.
Yeah, it's and if you like, I would leave my desktop and I would come back and there would be a pop up saying like, "Do you know why 10 million people switched to Windows 10 last week?"
Because you bugged them about it till they gave in.
Yeah, I'm like, this box is why. I was gonna say too, I think it's kind of funny that so many people were so excited about the start menu coming back and kind of its old school self, but my first cosmetic change after the upgrade was to restore the start menu to full screen and restore all of my basically shortcut tiles. Like my start screen is just a giant shortcut of like all my games and like, Adobe apps and all that stuff. I got so used to just that quick access for all my programs that I really enjoy that now.
Nice. I also did a Windows 10 thing this past weekend. For Christmas, I took my dad's computer he has downstairs in the library and I give it a little refresh and gave it back. It's actually it's a Frankenstein of my first gaming computer and my wife's first gaming/work computer. So it has a Q6600, my original Q6600, which is now back at the stock 2.4 gigahertz. He doesn't need it to be faster. So, and 4 gigs of my original DDR2 RAM, OCZ Reaper RAM, and then a 775 motherboard and a basic Cooler Master case, power supply, couple hard drives, and a 9500 GT single slot graphics card with like a 30 millimeter fan on it, a tiny little whiny fan.
But of course,
all the
it's
fans,
like a battery fan.
They had dust in them, like they were whiny, a little bit noisy, and it was very slow. He had 32-bit Windows 7, which he upgraded to 32-bit Windows 10, and it was just slow and pokey and old. So all I did was throw in 120 gig SSD in it, a SanDisk I got for like $35, and did a clean install of 7, immediately upgraded to 10, and took out the old wireless G PCI card and put in a wireless N dongle. But it's like a new computer. I mean, predictably, I installed a couple of his programs on it and gave it back. All of his data's on his other hard drives. He can, do what he wants with it. But yeah, the Windows 10 upgrade, it took me a little bit longer. It was probably like 45 minutes, but it did everything on its own. It didn't bug me. I liked that I could avoid making a Microsoft account and just install it with a name, and that was fine. Yeah, it was pretty painless, and it is kind of cool to see Windows 10 running on very legacy hardware. This is all hardware from like 2006, 2007.
Oh yeah, speaking of legacy hardware, here's a question
and
for
it
you,
still
Jeremiah.
works great.
When that CPU launched, what was the wireless standard? I'm trying to remember.
G. Was it B?
Was it?
I think it was G.
No, it was.
I think we were at G.
I think G wasn't
G's been around
standardized
for
yet.
a while.
In 2006?
You think it was B?
I don't think G was standardized yet. Yeah.
Huh. Well, I didn't do my build till 08. I'm saying the parts are from that.
Gotcha.
From 2006, but my build was in 2008. So, but still, that's still a 6 to 7 year old computer's worth of parts thrown together hastily and handed to him, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's quicker than the iMac that he bought in 2007 that's sitting on the desk next to it. And it's quicker than the Mac Mini that he has upstairs. So, and it's a heck of a lot cheaper than either of them.
So 802.11g came out in 2003.
Came out, but when was it standardized?
Looking.
It was standardized by then because my PlayStation was wireless G, my PlayStation 3. And that was an 06.
Okay.
Yeah, I think wireless G was around for a while.
Yeah, man, that I'm really glad that I got rid of my wireless G router last year then.
Yeah, I can't, like, as picky as you are and like as much of an enthusiast as you are, I could not believe you're using wireless G. Even just like it's such an inferior technology. You can send or receive, like there's no simultaneous data transfer. Whenever I
didn't
playing,
have a smartphone, and we only had one laptop in the house, so it wasn't.
Dave, but it's a crappy technology. When I was playing The Last of Us on my PS3 with Joel, we were using the PS3 headsets. You think the PS4 chat's bad?
Oh gosh,
because I was on wireless G,
it's so bad.
Which is what the PlayStation 3 has. If you talked, it would cut out, like the game would lag and it would cut out audio from the game while you were talking or someone else was talking because it can send or receive, not both. I was like, are you kidding me? Because it was like staggering the bits, I guess, like alternating bits. It's like, this is so stupid.
That's amazing.
But anyway, yeah, the computer worked great. Everything's good. And he's happy with it. So moral of the story is, a $40 SSD upgrade is the best thing you can possibly do to your computer, or spend $70 and get a 240 gig. Like,
yeah,
SSDs are amazing. If you don't have an SSD, you should be actively saving to get an SSD as your boot drive. It is worth it.
Donate some plasma 2 times. That'll get you there.
All right. It's now time for our first question. This one is from ArKtiK Falcon. He says, "Hi, it's Ark. I think he asked me on my channel about he wanted to build a computer, wanted a recommendation. He wrote in to casualshenanigans@gmail.com after I told him to when he left me a comment and said, basically, I'd like to build a computer with enough power to run GTA 5 and other modern games at 1440p, possibly 60 FPS. I do not require any gaming peripherals, so he has everything else he needs. We're assuming he has his monitor. We'll assume for this purpose of the discussion, he has Windows. He has his mouse and keyboard and everything. He didn't give us a budget to stick to. So we're just kind of making the minimum computer that's decent and can do all this stuff.
Okay.
So the biggest thing is GPU. Dave and James, what are you thinking GPU wise for 1440p and maybe 60 FPS?
It's going to have to be pretty top end for 1440p and 60. That's
well, and either or.
390 maybe?
Sorry, go ahead.
390 maybe?
I'd say a 390 would probably be the bottom of what I'd go with. A 390 or a 980 or a 980 Ti, depending on what's on sale.
I would not buy the just 980. That wasn't enough for 1440p for me.
Not for maximum settings, Dave.
No, for high settings.
The potato masher can play 1440p in pretty much every game. You just have to be willing to compromise a little, okay? So there's a middle ground.
Did you turn off Hairworks?
Between a GTX 760 and a 980 Ti, there's a middle ground that would be perfectly fine.
But don't forget, you got to be, future looking too.
Yeah.
At least a little bit.
Yeah.
So my today is everyone else's tomorrow. I'm just trying to think ahead.
Well, he doesn't mention overclocking, so I'm going to start with a 4690 because that's $216. It's a 3.5 gigahertz quad core. And as with all of these questions, if you're like, oh, wait, no, I want to overclock, right back into me. I'll just email you back. I won't make you wait till the next episode, and we'll send you, an update if you need one. But so I'll pick a cheapo motherboard. Dave, could you check some GPU prices?
Can do.
Good old PCPartPicker.com.
Debbie asked earlier, how long will the tech podcast take? And I told her, well, it depends. Number 1 is PC Part Picker up, and number 2 is Jeremiah been drinking.
So, wait, was I drinking on the last one?
No, not at all.
I was like, I don't remember that, but would I?
Something here about drinking and browsing. Add to cart.
So I'm going with the cheap Gigabyte Z97 motherboard. The Z97 is, you don't even need one that nice necessarily, but that's a really good motherboard. If you want to swap it out, the processor out for when you can overclock, you'll want a Z97 board. 8 gigs of G-Skill RAM. We're going to go with a small SSD for your boot drive and then a hard drive to install all your crap. We're going to go with a Crucial 240 gig for $60. And we'll go with a Seagate Pipeline 5900 RPM, 2 terabyte drive is $50. Gotta be joking. That's such a good deal. We're not going to go with that though, just because that's not that fast. We're going to go with a 7200 RPM Seagate Barracuda 3 terabyte. Put all your crap on. Dave, what are you seeing for video cards? Like, what are 390s going for?
All right, let's look at the 390s first. Let me scroll down because it just repopulated with some TIs there up top. I'm seeing 390s going for, looks like around 400 actually.
Okay.
I feel like you can get them cheaper.
Here we
than that.
go. Here we go.
Like, yeah, they should be cheaper.
Let's lower it just a bit. Let's look for just 390s. I have too many options here, so I'm just going to go ahead and uncheck a few just so we can see what we're looking at. Okay, yeah, there we go. MSI 390, not the X, just the classic for 319. That's not bad.
That's a great deal. That's an awesome deal. And that's at 8 gigabytes of VRAM.
Oh, yes.
They are coming out with, we didn't really do a news section this time, but they're coming out with 4 gigabyte versions. They're going to be a little bit cheaper for people who are only gaming at 1080p or whatever.
Now, is this 4 gigabytes or a little less than 4?
No, actually 4. No, AMD's never had those issues.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
James. Relevant.
Okay, so, and then what, do you think you're not going to push for a 980 Ti? You think a 390 would be okay?
Let's compare it. All right, so that was 320. That is a really good deal, and that's a very highly rated 390 as well.
Yeah.
Let's look at 980s and 980 Ti's because
980 Ti's are going to be $300 more.
Yeah. Yes. But I was also looking, as much as I kind of hate on the 980 just because it's in that awkward, expensive, not like amazingly better range, they have been dropping since the Ti came out. So let's look at what we have here.
When you find it on sale, it's a really good deal.
Exactly. Yeah. So minimum list price right now for a 980 is $439, which is more than I paid for it in March. So that's not a good deal at all. I think it's the same one too, the Zotac Amp 980, just a standard 980. I've seen them on sale for, I'd say like 400 even though, right, Jeremiah? We've seen a few of those.
And that's going to be, but that's just going to be comparable with a 390. Like, it might be a tiny bit better than a 390, but...
And that is a price premium for sure.
Yeah, and you can overclock the 390 and the 980, so...
You can get a 390X at that price point.
Yeah, so right now the build is sitting at 987 with a 390 in it. So it's a 4690K Hyper 212 gigabyte Z97 board, 8 gigs of G.Skill RAM, a 240 gig SSD, a Seagate Barracuda 3 terabyte hard drive, MSI R9 390, a Cooler Master N300 ATX case, a Corsair 650 watt gold power supply, and a Asus DVD burner. And that's just under $1,000.
You know what? I'm going to actually vote for the 390 because the best deal that I'm seeing at this moment for a 980 Ti is $599, which is a good deal. Like, that's a good price.
So I'm going to say, yeah.
Not exceptional. And that's a huge leap in price.
If you can spend $1,000, like if $1,000 is acceptable to get the rig, then this is a good build. If you can spend a little more than that, a 980 Ti would be a great card.
Yes.
But as always, if you turn your settings down just a little bit, you can easily get an awesome 1440p experience with this build.
You stop trying to be Dave and just, be a normal person.
Exactly.
You'll be good to go.
But if you're like, oh, holy crap, I only wanted to spend $600, right back, we'll do an entirely different build. We could get we could get nuts. We could get you an okay at 1440p build for quite a bit less money. But this is a good at 1440p.
Right.
Don't ever try to max out every single game because that's just an unrealistic target to hit. Like a 980 Ti can't max out GTA 5 at 1080p at 60 FPS. Like, there will be dips in some parts because the maximum grass is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, that's just, don't try to hit hard moving targets. But this will do what I think you want to do.
If you ever toggle that one setting in Witcher, Jeremiah, the vegetation render distance where it takes the trees where like the flat ones start from like 150 meters out to like 400 meters, that'll take 20 FPS off the top.
Yeah, it's
like,
just not
easily.
It's just
insane.
Not necessarily worth it. It's one of those things where like, if you just saw the video running, you wouldn't know the settings were turned down. If you saw them compared, you'd have to compare them side by side to know the settings were turned down. just turn the settings down and be happy.
Yeah, those are the kind of settings where, like when you come back to a game and like years from now, it just looks awesome and everything's just cranked. Like that's not meant for everyone to just, the year it launches, open the box and turn the dial.
Yeah. Okay. Next email is from Sean. Sean says, "Hey guys, about a year ago, someone stole my PC. A nice custom-built machine I'd gotten for about $800. I've been without a rig of my own ever since then, and I've been missing the ability to play games on even halfway decent settings. I just recently found your videos about the potato masher, and I was wondering where the best place to find these parts would be. PC Parts Picker seems to come up blank on a lot of it, or else it doesn't list the much cheaper used prices. Do you have any resources you could share?" And then I asked him a follow-up question, and he responded, "He just needs the tower on its own. Only the tower was stolen. He still has his peripherals, and he'd like to see what he can do on $400 or less. He might be able to put some more money towards it, but for now, he'd like to keep the total cost as low as possible. Thanks for the reply and your help. A new fan, Sean." So he found the podcast through the Potato Masher.
That's awesome.
And
although,
yes,
I didn't start this podcast to be sad though, Jeremiah.
Well,
I never asked for sad stories.
We're gonna see what we can do to get Sean back on his feet. So to answer his first question, why?
Let's get him a really heavy case.
This is
let's send him my old Cosmos 1000.
Yeah,
No one's stealing that. They're gonna get it in the car.
The Cosmos, and I'll take like the extra hard drive bays and just fill them with concrete.
Dude, that would be amazing. You just lock bricks into the hard drive bays.
And I'll take the handles off the top and just file down all the edges, so it's just completely. It's a smooth orbish rectangle that's like 150 pounds. You'll be safe.
Just leave the bottom handles on it because they're actually like locked into the frame of the case, and just put a boat anchor on it and you're done.
But to answer his question, this is a question I get a lot. Why can't I find all the parts to the Potato Masher on PC Part Picker? The answer for that is PC Part Picker is only brand new parts. PC Part Picker isn't combing slick deals for deals on stuff unless
or
it's
eBay.
unless it's been posted on like Newegg or Amazon. That's the only way, PC Part Picker will pick it up if it's on a big site. If it's on a smaller site, they won't see it. If it's a flash sale, they probably won't see it. If it's refurbished or used or anything else, they probably won't see it. I've been buying computer parts from Amazon Warehouse for years because most of the time, like, they're brand new. The box just got dinged up or opened, and they sell it to you for like 70% of the price. Like, all that stuff, PC Part Picker won't pick up on. So you do take a slightly more risk when you buy parts that are used or refurbished, but if you buy from reputable sellers with return policies, there isn't really much of a risk. Most of the time when computer parts die, it's when you get them. Like, it's during the build or they're dead when you get them.
The first week or something. Yeah, it's pretty fast. So when you're making a super budget build, and I consider $350 to $400 to be a super budget build for a computer, you're going to have to cut corners somewhere, either on performance, aesthetics, definitely aesthetics, or possibly the convenience of buying all the parts. And that's what we did with the Potato Masher. We said, not can every single person do this. I feel like most people could, but not can everybody do this. But can we? I've seen a lot of people in the comment section that definitely can.
Well, a lot of people in the comment section can't like search on Amazon apparently based on the things they say. But I've disproved some of their comments in less time than it took them to type it. Like, why are there no GTX 760s for sale? And like, you just search on Amazon. Oh, look, here's one for 110. All right, moving on.
Some of the comments, I just hope that they can actually dress themselves.
But yeah, so we're going to help you out though. We're going to try to do this as a PC Part Picker link, because unless you're ready to buy them right this second, it's a little bit hard to, like, we can't send you any crazy deals because they might not be here a couple days from now. But we can do a pretty decent build with $400 brand new. I'm assuming he still has his Windows license. Like, he said nothing else was stolen, just physically the tower. So he shouldn't need Windows.
It depends on if he had the key down somewhere or if it was like, taped to the case for some reason. He built it himself, so hopefully
we'll assume. He said he just needed the tower, so we'll assume that he has it. Obviously, as usual,
Steam box.
Right back. We're not correct, and we'll adjust. Ugh. Have you seen the Maximum PC did a comparison of the Alienware Steam box versus the Alienware Alpha, and the Steam machine is like 30% slower.
I don't doubt it. Honestly.
It even has 4 more gigs of memory. Like, it was pretty disappointing. Anyway,
Wow.
we're going to start out with an Athlon X4 860K. That's a 3.7 gigahertz quad core. Sexy.
That's actually a pretty solid stock speed. Nice.
Well, it's AMD. You need a lot of speed. We're gonna throw
that's true.
That's gigabyte
true. Yeah.
motherboard. You're gonna want to overclock it. It's at 3.7. That's perfectly respectable. But if you get it up to 4.2, 4.3, something like that, your life will be easier. So I'm throwing a Hyper 212 in there because why not? And then for cheapness sake, let's see, an Enermax ATX mid tower for $20. Oh,
what
boy.
brand was that again?
Enermax. They make stuff. They're a thing.
They make
their
stuff.
slogan, like scrawled in crown.
We make stuff. We're gonna get
You should work on their marketing campaign.
the Corsair Builder power supply that everybody and their mom uses. We're gonna get that. I mean, it's a good deal. What can I say?
Yeah.
Let's see. I think fortunately, since we built the potato masher, memory has gotten cheaper. We can buy 8 gigs for the same price as the 4 gigs we bought last year. So right here from Crucial, DDR3 1600 RAM, 8 gigs, $33.
Pretty good.
That is really good. For storage, we're going to go, this is actually looking to be, prices are pretty favorable right now. We're going to go with that same Western Digital 1 terabyte that everybody and their mother uses. Let's see, where is that? Yeah, actually, oh no, here's an Hitachi Ultrastar, and Hitachi makes some good drives. Hitachi Ultrastar, 7,200 RPM for $42. That's actually pretty awesome.
And people used to hate on Hitachi, but I've had 2 of their drives that I worked them hard as backup drives, and they had never failed me. They're fantastic.
I don't know a ton about the Ultrastar, but I know the DeskStar is good, and it's $3 more, so we'll get that. So that puts us before graphics card, that puts us at $266 with everything. So that gives us some money to spend on the graphics card. Now it's technically $308 before rebates. So if you don't want rebates, you're going to have to knock some of this stuff down. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. But I wouldn't blame you if you didn't want rebates. They can be a little bit aggravating.
I don't do rebates.
I try to avoid them, but I'm not normally trying to make super budget stuff either. So I normally just wait until I can get, kind of what I was thinking about. But let's see. What is available for like $150 or less? You can get an R7 370. That's a good card. Or a GTX. Actually, GTX 950 is probably the way to go. Are you guys pretty familiar with these?
They're about 150-ish.
Yeah, they're about 150. The Wind Force edition or the Gigabyte overclocking edition is 150. Although that's with 2 gigs of memory. I think it's a 2 gig memory card, but again, budget build, 2 gigs of memory is still fine. But $150, and they are comparable or slightly better than the GTX 760 and the Potato Masher. So that's pretty sweet.
And that card performs.
All right, actually, that puts me at 415. That sucks.
Before or after rebates?
After. I don't want to go with a cheaper video card. I think the 950 is the sweet spot. This is one of the type of things like if you can save up just a little bit more money, save up just a little bit more money.
I mean, you're not going to be buying a computer every 3 months, so take a little extra time maybe. It's always worth it.
How much was the power supply?
Like 20 something.
Okay.
there's a reason that one's so popular. There's not a whole lot of room to shave anything off there. The thing is, when you drop down in graphics cards, like the next decent one would be the Radeon R7 370 from Power Color. You can get for $133. Like, that's still a good card.
You're not saving that much money though.
But yeah, the cheapest 950 is $140. It's an Asus. I'm going to put that in there. So that puts him at 406. So he's got an 860K, a Hyper 212. And if you don't plan on overclocking, drop the Hyper 212, saves you $25. But I highly recommend overclocking. at least a little bit. Like 4.3, 4.4 gigahertz is not that much of a jump for this processor, and that will make a difference in games. You need as much clock speed as you can on that processor. But then a 1 terabyte hard drive, 8 gigs of Crucial RAM, Asus graphics card, Intermax case, Corsair power supply, $406.
Now, if we were going with if you wanted to scenario, so if you wanted to do a used graphics card, like eBay or something, what could he get?
The first place I would always check is the EVGA B stocks, because that's their returned, refurbished, whatever cards, but it's directly from EVGA. So they've got a great warranty. They normally have great prices, but it's kind of like what they've got is what there is. Like the stock changes all the time, but we've seen like there was a GTX 760 for less than $100 and like 770s for 130, 140. I'm trying to load that site right now to check, but I'll go to Amazon. Let's see what like a GTX, what are 770s going for? They're probably too much because people really like them.
They're still 300 for some reason.
Yeah, I'm seeing
all those people trying to SLI.
There is a Zotac GTX 760 for 140 on Amazon, but that's not really saving you any money. That's the thing, is you either need to get a much better card for the same money or the same card for much less money. All right, the EVGA. Oh, EVGA is having scheduled downtime right now. Fantastic. While we're recording this. All right, I'm going to check before I send them this email if EVGA B stock has any really good deals. Like, I'll send them.
Yeah.
But let's see. It looks like 760s are going for about the same money, so you should stick with a 950. It's a better card. Let's see if we go back a little bit older. What's a 680 going for? No better.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, it's the type of thing like certain AMD cards or NVIDIA cards are just not depreciating like you'd think they would. Like even a GTX 660 is still going for a little over $100.
Yeah.
It's for whatever reason, AMD cheap cards have not depreciated like you'd expect them to recently. So let's see what a 7950, one of my all-time favorite cards, what do those go for? You can get a Sapphire 7950 for as low as 120, 125. Those are pretty good. That'd be a good deal. Let's see. Feel free to like search on your own, chime with any deals you guys are seeing here. I'm trying to see what can we get for 150.
Quite a bit.
I'm Googling now.
What's the best
You
deal?
can't hear
on
the
a graphics
pounding of my
card?
mechanical keyboard.
No, I can't. I don't know if you're trying to do it right then for dramatic effect.
Microphone failure.
Normally, your better deals are going to be way old cards or cards that are like higher end, getting them for cheap. We're trying to get cheap cards also for cheap that are only a couple years old. Like sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's not. The best thing I'm seeing is R9 270s are going for, some of them are going for just over $100. And if you wanted to shave money off, I would get a R9 270.
Remind me again of our exact price limit.
140 to 150 is about our limit. And that's the thing about the 950. The 950 is an awesome card for the money. It's honestly really hard to beat at that price point.
Yeah.
It makes the 960 kind of obsolete.
Were we saying used was okay?
Yeah, used or refurbished, just somewhere reputable where we can get,
Is eBay reputable?
It depends on if the seller is, yes.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jeremiah have both had a lot of luck buying used cards carefully from eBay.
Yeah, if it's a good seller, what are you finding?
I'm seeing 760s going for as well. That seems like a kind of glitch. Okay, yeah, I'll say going for 100 to 130.
Okay, it's worth
Multiple
it. Worth it
ones.
at 100. At 130, just get a GTX 950, brand new.
Yeah.
But yeah, 760 would be a good card.
I see multiple cards selling for between 90 and 100. So
Okay, and let me see. I'm gonna check what are 7950s going for. These were popular Litecoin cards. So if you don't mind getting one that has been used for Litecoining, which doesn't necessarily mean it's going to die immediately, but some of those are definitely going for cheap. Like those are like, that's definitely a slightly more risky card to buy, but you can normally get them for pretty freaking cheap.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Let me see. Although not right now, the stock seems to have dried up a little bit. Man, interesting times.
The coins aren't flowing anymore.
Oh, they weren't flowing for years. Here's an untested one. Starting bid $1. Nah, I don't think so.
Personally, I blame the popularity of the potato masher for just destroying the used card market.
I mean, someone did warn me. They said if everyone buys parts like you're recommending them to, then no one will be able to because it'll take up all the parts. And I was like, okay.
Well, I mean,
that's like, don't buy used cars because then there won't be any used cars left. Like, eventually you have to be a little selfish and be like, nah, I'm getting mine. Like, later, losers.
There is definitely a trend on YouTube right now that I don't think we're a part of it, but you're seeing like a lot of budget build videos going up, and a lot of people are saying like used parts are the way to go. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was some effect.
Well, I mean, there's ebb and flow. Like right now, there's
Yeah.
not a lot of incredible deals on used cards because some of the new cards are really, really awesome right now, like the 950. So there's no reason to get a used card, which you'd think would drive the price down, but for whatever reason, it hasn't. Also, it's been a while since NVIDIA announced a new line. Like, I imagine in the next couple months, we're going to be hearing about the NVIDIA X series or whatever they're going to call the 10s. And that should drive everything down, 20, 30% or so. And we'll probably get some better deals again. But for now, I'm going to say I'm sending him a link to the 760s or the 7950s and this PC part picker link. We'll move on. If he wants to send us clarifications about price or anything, he can. But
Nice.
That's for $400. It really sucks that someone stole your crap, and that should get you up and going. All right. Up next is Brandon, or Da Ranger, who has written in the podcast numerous times and actually won something in the Lootcast.
Nice.
He says, hey guys, I built my first PC about 2 years ago, and I feel like I'm ready to overclock. Just the GPU for now until I get a Hyper 212. He does listen to the show. But typical nervous me, the idea of overclocking is sort of worries me, like intentionally running up sliders until your PC crashes. So, well, it doesn't have to crash. Let's say that. If you're going for extreme overclocking, you will crash a few times. I was wondering if you have any tips on overclocking for beginners and some places I can get help on overclocking as well. Thanks, Shenanigans, mostly Dave and Jeremiah, for the tech help. It has really gotten me into PC gaming and computers. Also, thanks to all the Casual Shenanigans crew for a very enjoyable podcast and fun Thursdays when I'm able to tune in live.
I was about to say there, like it was about to get kind of awkward with James right here.
I mean,
Well, now that he's
covered all the
becoming a
bases.
staple on the tech podcast, we'll see. It'll change.
Sucker.
So he has a 4690K. I messaged him and asked. That's a 3.5 gigahertz LGA 1150 CPU. So he does not have an aftermarket cooler right now. And he says he just wants to start with his graphics card for now. So graphics card, easiest thing to do is MSI Afterburner. Get it? It has those sliders that you're talking about. Graphics cards are easy. You bump them up until your computer blue screens, or you start getting visual artifacts in games like weird lines on the screen or digital fuzz or something like that. Then you just back
It looks
it
like
down.
you just uploaded your entire game to YouTube.
Yeah.
Then you know that you're getting compression artifacts.
As an example, and start out mild, you can see good performance gains without really going extreme at all. Let's say you have a GTX 970, just for the sake of argument. Its stock clock speed is somewhere around, like 1,080 or 1,100 megahertz. But most board partners you get it from with an aftermarket cooler are selling it somewhere around 1,200 to 1,250 megahertz on the core. So in MSI Afterburner, you can easily bump that up to 1,300 or 1,400, 1,450 some of the time, but 1,400 is probably pretty doable. And that will give you, like, in some games, like a 10% boost in performance. And all you do is bump the slider up and hit the check mark, and bump the memory up by like 100, 200 megahertz, click the check mark. Play a game. If everything's fine, just play games. If you don't have any problems, you can bump it up a little farther, or if you start to have problems, you can bump it back down. There's no free lunch. Everything will get a little hotter. Everything will be a little bit, a little hotter, a little more power consumption, stuff like that. But again, if you're just getting into it, if you just want to learn how to do it, there's not really a whole lot to worry about. just push a little. Dave,
Yes.
can you explain the difference between base clock overclocking and multiplier overclocking and why multiplier overclocking is so easy? Because that's what he has, is a multiplier overclocked card.
I mean, I know how to overclock, and I know the basic difference, but I'm not sure I can explain that well.
Okay. Well, so think about it this way. Your clock speed, it's not like each core is running just like it has a speed that's set on in his case to 3.5 gigahertz or 3,500 megahertz. It's not like anywhere in your BIOS there's something that says 3,500 megahertz. Although I guess we ought to start saying UEFI. Are people still calling it BIOSes?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, it's still a BIOS.
All right. So you have your base clock and your multiplier. So on your processor, your base clock is most likely 100 megahertz, and your multiplier is 35. So 35 by 100 is 3,500. So you have a speed of 3.5 gigahertz. Think of your multiplier as like gears on a bike, kind of. You're pedaling at 100 megahertz. The computer's pedaling at 100 megahertz, but you put it on the gear that goes, sometimes the gears are running at a multiplier of 10 or 20, when the processor's idling. But then you hit a hill, you need a little more work, and it goes up to your multiplier of 35, and you're running at your maximum speed of 3.5 gigahertz. Does that make sense, guys?
Yep. Can I actually get that in a car analogy, please?
Shut up. So to overclock with a multiplier overclocked card, all you need to do is turn up how high the multiplier can go. So it'll be more stable. For each motherboard, there's stuff you can turn off, like you can turn off some of the thermal throttling and stuff. If you just Google the name of your motherboard plus overclocking guide, there'll be a bunch of easy resources that will tell you how to turn off a couple little things that will make your experience more stable. But if you leave your voltage at bone stock, which is automatic, like it'll vary itself, and if you have a semi-decent cooler with 3.5 gigahertz, I would set my multiplier to 40 because that's 4 gigahertz. And then just boot back into Windows, run some stress tests. Prime 95 is a good test. Run Prime 95, monitor your temperatures with Core Temp or CPU Thermometer. Those are both good programs. And just, you don't want your, on a stock heatsink, try to keep your temperatures below 75 degrees Celsius. And on a aftermarket heatsink, definitely try to keep it like lower than 70, 65 to 70. Not that it's dangerous, but just if you're thinking about what's extreme, what isn't, keep it under 70 and you're fine. But yeah, that's it. Turn your multiplier up to 40. If it runs well, put it on 41, put it on 42, depending on what you're doing,
Push it.
you may not see that big of a difference, but on some games like GTA 5, which can use all of your processor, you will see a difference. Debbie has a 3570K, which runs stock at 3.4 and turbos to 3.6. And she got a massive boost in FPS, like a 15 FPS boost when I ran her up to 4.2. So, and that was stock voltage, like auto voltage, auto everything. All I did was change the multiplier.
Nice.
And these days, that's all you really need to do. Now, in the old days, like the potato masher days, you did base clock overclocking, where your multiplier was locked at, say, 20, and your base clock starts at 150 megahertz or whatever, and you bump that up megahertz by megahertz, and that increases your clock speed. I don't really know if one's better than the other, but
one sounds scarier than the other, though.
the multiplier is definitely easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just getting into it, it's really easy. The math is much easier on the multiplier. The base clock one is that the one you're thinking of being scarier, James?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little more, like, there's a little more math to do, and it feels a little more nerve-wracking, but it's actually kind of interesting. For the past couple generations, base clocks have been locked, and you've only been able to overclock with multipliers, and you've had to buy a K chip, starting with a 2500K. You had to buy an unlocked processor to overclock. But have you guys heard about the 6000 series? Intel's.
Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, they're new. Like, they've got the 6600 and the 6600K and stuff. Well, they're i3s and they're cheaper i5s that aren't Ks. You can overclock them with the base clock now. base clock overclocking is back. So
I had heard rumors of that, but it does actually work.
it does. So you can buy an i3 for $130 or whatever, and you can overclock it now, which you have not been able to do for years, which has given AMD a little bit of an advantage for budget stuff, was that you could buy a cheap AMD part and overclock it, and you couldn't overclock the cheap Intel stuff. But Digital Foundry's been doing some stuff where they've been comparing like an i3 to a 2500K, which is, an older part, but it's a quad core, and the i3's been beating it in games as a hyper-threaded dual core because they can overclock it. So
That's interesting.
it is. But with
Are they still doing? Did they nix the Pentium?
they still have the Pentium line, but the only overclockable Pentium for years, I think, has been the G3258, or the only one that was worth overclocking. But it's not hyper-threaded, so for gaming purposes, you should not get a Pentium anymore. Don't get anything with less than 4 processing threads. But yeah, they still make Pentiums. They're pretty crappy, like usual.
Anybody want a good Celeron?
But yeah, right back to us, Deranger, if you have any other questions. But yeah, start slow. That's the most important thing. Do a little bump. If everything's good, do another little bump. And as you get comfortable with that, then you can look up guides on your particular processor and your particular motherboard. You have a popular setup, like people have done what you're trying to do with your parts before, and people will have guides on how to push it a little bit farther. But the biggest thing is, if your computer's meeting all of your needs, don't worry about overclocking that much. Like, do a little bit so you can learn how to do it. That's fine. But don't feel like you need to get the absolute maximum performance out of your build your very first time around. I think with my Q6600, it was at 2.4 gigahertz, which is fine until I got SLI, and then the SLI was completely bottlenecked. Like, I got maybe a 10% bump adding the second card. So I was like, well, that's not good. So overclocking just to 2.8 gigahertz unlocked like another 30-40% of performance. And then finally, I settled at 3.2, and that processor would not go above 3.2.
Yeah, when you hit that limit, especially with SLI, like you can really lose some performance. Takes me back right there.
All right, up next is Ivan. Ivan's written in, and he wrote in, and we read his question on the podcast, the last episode of the Casual Shenanigans gaming podcast, and we said we were going to answer it on this show. So we're going to answer it, but to read his question again. Howdy, not sure if this is the proper approach to message you guys, but I've been enjoying the heck out of the podcast. The Potato Masher videos are required viewing for me. Anyway, got a quick question. I'm considering buying a gaming laptop and have settled for the Asus G751. I haven't looked up the specs. I don't care because you shouldn't get it. It has the GTX 980M, which is going to run me just under $1,600. My question to you is, should I even bother? No. I realized that for that price, I could build a killer rig. I'm torn. I've never built a gaming PC, but I suspect I could build one with a 980 Ti and an i7 processor and come within my budget. I have a monitor, mouse, and keyboard already. Any guidance is appreciated. What components would you use? Thanks, Ivan. All right, Dave and James.
I have a personal suggestion for this build. Right off the bat here. We're gonna set aside $100 for you to just put on your desk and burn with a lighter. You'll still be saving money and have a better computer compared to the laptop.
Or better yet, you can send it to our Patreon account.
There it is.
Support the podcast.
So our goal is Tower plus Windows, i7 980 Ti, $1,600. Can we do it?
Tower, video card.
I mean, the video card will be in the tower.
Should clarify if he's a student or not.
Yeah, I'm going to put Windows 10 in there. If you're like, oh no, wait, actually, no, I'm good. I don't need that. Then, I mean, you just have more money to spend on stuff. So,
yeah,
cool lights for your first build.
That's true. It's the ceremonial first
It's got to
build.
happen at some point.
Well, I don't feel like they make as many of those now. Like when we were making stuff, that was all the rage, was like the chrome on the cases and the big alien looking junk. And I was like, please spare us.
Well, didn't one of the biggest online retailers of all the crazy license stuff go out of business this year?
I don't know.
One of them just went under. Yeah.
Or like Cyberpower or something. I think Cyberpower is still kicking around.
No, their name was like actually something about PC accessories. Like they were a very, very focused reseller. It was like all those like cold cathode like lights and everything else.
Interesting.
Just for computer cases. It was insane.
Okay. So I think we can do this, guys. But with Windows 10, 64-bit, a Zotac 980 Ti, the same exact GPU I have, and a 4790K, the same exact CPU I have, we are at $1,066.
What to do?
Nice.
For $550, can we get the rest of the computer?
I'm actually working on a build too. So
Okay.
Let's see. Mushkin just has a $250 1 terabyte SSD.
I don't think we want to burn $250 on an SSD with our
But
budget.
there's so much left over.
For a case, power supply, memory, storage.
And cheap out on that stuff. It's a terabyte.
I'm gonna say a Corsair 200R. Here,
For the
Dave.
case.
How about we quietly make our builds and then we compare notes.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit aloud as I go. First of all, Jeremiah, I don't think that you're doing him justice for the 200R. That looks too professional. Look at all the LEDs you can add to the 500R. This is what you want.
But
Look at that.
But how much more money is the 500R?
It is more expensive, I think, actually.
It is. It's 120, so it's like 3 times the price.
But look at it's the LEDs.
And it has a window.
It's got a
Don't.
glowing window.
How about we don't?
I'm going to go for the C70, which is my case, because Joel and I love it.
But again, you don't have a lot of money to work with here.
Oh, don't I?
I don't know.
Oh, don't. Actually, I haven't seen the total yet, so let's see.
Dave's heart is buying things. His wallet can't actually.
My wallet dreams big. Actually, my wallet has very small, realistic dreams that are still frequently crushed.
Yes, James.
That's first
perfect.
build worthy.
The DIY PC Zonda O Black.
That's first build worthy. Come on.
the orange stripe on the front.
Oh, wait. I got
It's
this.
so ugly. Send it to me on
comes with
PC Part Picker so I can add it.
Orange fans.
I'm gonna send it on here because this is not serious, but this is the ultimate first build.
All right, what do we got? Load quicker. The Raid Max Viper GX. Perfect. It looks like they looked at Alienware and went, yeah, we can do that. It's like actually, it's a ripoff of a Silverstone case with the Alienware lighting / personal humiliation
There's so
scheme.
many lights
I
in
think I like the Zonda better because it has that nonsensical like curve.
name.
The swoop on the front makes no sense and is not aesthetically pleasing at all. And the company's name is DIY PC with a logo that looks like it's from the 70s, like it belongs on a software company. Basically,
Credibility.
Everything's bad. Everything is bad about that.
Oh, man.
Well, here, while we're doing that, James, we didn't really go into this. I'm assuming most people know, but for anyone who doesn't know, why should he not have buy the laptop for $1,600? Because we did just kind of make fun of it and move on.
Well, number one, if he's going to do gaming, it's going to be as heavy as a desktop anyways.
Yeah, laptop,
I mean,
it's going to be like a 12-pound laptop.
I think we talked about this on the podcast, that he could get a cheap laptop if he needs something for portability for school or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then build a pretty kick-ass PC.
Oh, we definitely
desktop.
could. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, you probably won't game on the go as much as you think anyway, but your ability to upgrade as, more demanding games come out, there's going to come a point where your laptop's going to become obsolete.
I mean, the laptop already is not going to max stuff out. Like, it's already not that great.
I mean, they have some with decent cards in it, GPU, but you're not going to get, for $1,600,
You're not going to get
you're not going to get nearly as much
experience.
performance as you would like.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just liked, James, that before you started that whole deal, that sigh of disappointment just crushing. I thought better of you, son.
All right, I've got my build ready, Dave.
I got about 2 more clicks. I might tweak the SSD real quick, because you better believe you got yourself an SSD.
I went with a pretty standard build, so if you're going nuts, like if you're doing some weird stuff,
Doing some weird stuff.
you know what I'm talking about, I think.
I will say caviar black.
Sorry, go ahead, James.
I've had a gaming laptop before, and I did play on the go a little bit, but it became so cumbersome to carry around and deal with. I found that I just wasn't even really gaming on it.
Well, that's the thing is, like, where are you carrying it to game to? Like, where are you going? Maybe that's just I don't understand what people do with them, but like, where are you going to game that you need to take the laptop with you? Like, do you not game at home?
I mean, I bought a gaming laptop back when I was still on dial-up internet, and so I actually would carry it to the computer labs at college and play, not Star Wars, Battlefront, Battlefield 2142. There it is. Man, that took a long time to process. But unless you have a similar excuse, I mean, you're not going to game out and about. You're not going to be playing Call of Duty on the bus. It's just never going to happen.
You're not going to be playing on the bus anyway because you don't have internet connection. You're sure not going to do it over like WiMAX or something.
You can play Grand Theft Auto on a plane or something. I mean, I'm not trying to kill his dreams.
That could be really concerning as he's flying a plane and crashing it and stuff. Sitting next to passengers.
I'm not trying to like harsh your dreams, Ivan, but it does seem like if you're getting a laptop, most of the time it's probably going to sit on your desk. So if it's going to sit on your desk, get something good to sit on the desk. Dave, you ready?
James, would that be more games you shouldn't play on a plane, like Counter-Strike? Where's the bomb? Where's the bomb? Time's running out. Find the bomb.
We're going down. We're going down.
Headphones. Highly encourage headphones.
Okay, before I send my link, just to clarify, the computer included everything, including operating system, except for the monitor, mouse, and keyboard, correct?
Yes. Well, no, I include the operating system.
Yeah, I did too.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Including the operating system. All right, cool. Yeah. There we go.
All right, let's take a look. What hath Dave wrought? A 4690K, a Z97 motherboard, 16 gigs of G-Skill, a Kingston 120 gig SSD, a Western Digital Black 2 terabyte, a GeForce GTX 980 Ti by Gigabyte, a Corsair C70, an EVGA 750 watt gold power supply, Windows 10 Home 64-bit. Dave?
Yes.
We are kindred spirits.
Here we go.
But I think my build's better than yours.
Oh, whoa.
Do I get to judge?
James can judge. Okay. Dave had a 4690K.
Uh-huh.
I have a 4790K hyper-threaded quad core.
Okay.
Dave has a stock heatsink. I have a Hyper 212.
Oh, I forgot to add the Hyper 212. Sorry, I have
too late
budget for it.
Yeah, you do. Okay, so Dave has a Hyper 212.
Budget for it.
Dave has an MSI Z97 motherboard. I have an ASRock Z97 motherboard, which is like $70 cheaper. Dave, why are you buying an $150 motherboard?
I liked it. It was nice.
Dave has 16 gigs of G-Skill. I have 16 gigs of G-Skill, but while he has the Ripjaws 1600, I have the Value Series 1333, which is $1 cheaper. I could probably upgrade. He has a Kingston 120 gig.
Are we going to start comparing RAM frequencies next?
You guys need to flip-flop. Dave's the cheap one. He would save the dollar.
If he has a Kingston 120 gig SSD, I have a Crucial 240 gig.
Nice.
Dave has a Western Digital 2 terabyte black. I have a Seagate Barracuda 3 terabyte. Also a 7200 RPM. A little slower than the black, but for games, probably not a big difference. Dave has a Gigabyte 980 Ti. I have a Zotac 980 Ti. Not really a difference. Dave has a Corsair C70, which is definitely nicer than a Corsair 200R, but does it affect your performance? No, it doesn't. Dave has the EVGA 750 watt 80 plus gold power supply. I have the exact same one, and we have the same copy of Windows 10. His build, before rebates, adding in the Hyper 212, is $1,575. My build.
Wait, what?
$1,575.
I'm getting $1,481.
Well, the list you sent me says the base total is $1,550, and then I add $25 for the Hyper 212.
Yeah, 1481 is it's still giving me.
Send me a new link because
I see 1461 for the total after rebates.
What is going on there?
Send me a new link because something is evidently not working there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reads it now. It's up to 1587 with the Hyper 212.
Huh.
All right. Anyway, you said what yours is?
It's a different price for me. That's so weird.
1481.
1481. Okay.
Yes.
I think it might be like different retailers. I set mine to use Newegg and Amazon if at all possible.
Oh, gotcha. That's what it is.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So yours is $14.81. Mine is $15.41. For the money, I think mine's better, but James will decide. Let me.
And then I have a few thoughts on yours too.
Okay.
After James decides,
Well,
I'll let James decide first.
Here are my selling points: 1 terabyte more storage, double the size on the SSD, hyper-threaded quad core. Those are my big selling points compared to yours.
Dave, do you want to make your last?
Yeah. I'm going to give Jeremiah the storage because he definitely has the superior storage. Unless you're doing anything with video, the black drives are fantastic for anything productivity.
My
they help with
recording
games.
and editing video drives are Seagate Barra 2 to 2 terabytes. They have never once bottlenecked. Just throwing that out there.
Oh,
Blacks are
man.
nice.
If only you were as professional as I was.
I've had
Blacks are good for reliability long term. I think more so.
And also
than,
for heat. I'm not convinced that hyper-threading is worth it for a gaming computer. I know I just was talking about productivity, but
it's within the budget though.
Yeah. I am going to call you on the case though. The 200R is far inferior to the C70.
Oh.
A nice case can make all the difference when building and also when working on your computer later.
Though. I'll give you the C70 is a nicer case. With the caveat that you have to like a case that looks like an ammo container, which is not really my thing, but a lot of people like it. So it's
it comes in different colors too, though, not just the OD green.
It's a much nicer case, but for working in it, the 200R is just as nice. The 200R has all the toolless stuff, all the features that are in the nicer Corsair cases, the 200R has, except it only has 4 hard drive bays and 4 SSD bays, but they're all toolless.
That's fine.
If only this podcast was toolless.
For most people, that would be fine.
It would be empty.
That's why I'm saying I think it's the right choice for a case. It's a great case. It doesn't look flashy at all. Functionally, it is a functional case. It has no style.
Yes.
So I'll give you all the style points, but I disagree that the C70 will be a significantly different experience to build in.
I think it'll be a case you'll be happier with, though. This is a very nice build. Give it a nice case.
For someone who has less experience, I think the things that matter to me are, of course, the toolless drives. Like that's pretty much a must.
Mm-hmm.
They both had that,
and
though.
Cable management.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having cable management is long. I mean, they could pick a different case, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, these are good recommendations, obviously, but they could pick something that meets more their style or whatever. But as long as it meets those two bare minimums, I think you're fine. But let me go down. Now, what was the price difference between the processors?
Just the processors. His is $242. Mine is $340. So almost $100. The reason I'm saying hyperthreading, if he plans on keeping this for a while, hyperthreading is not 100% necessary right now, although it does make a difference in frame timing of demanding games, and he's going to be playing pretty demanding, presumably if he's getting a 980 Ti and an i7.
Yeah.
But he also said i7, which is why I put an i7 in. Honestly, that's the only reason I did it, was not because I thought he needed it, but because he said i7. I said, okay, i7.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if that was my budget, I would put an i7 in for $100.
It's got room for it, that's for sure.
It does.
I mean, the thing is,
you can't really go wrong.
The thing is, the leap between an i5 and i7 is a lot smaller than having to buy a new processor later and having to sell one to get another one. Because then your gap widens. So I'm going to go with Jeremiah on the processor.
Okay.
I guess I'll go with both of you for the CPU cooler.
Yeah, we got the same cooler, basically the same RAM. So that's a toss-up. Dave has a much nicer board than I do.
That's where I think I could do some more work. I just honestly grabbed one of the nicest ones that I saw immediately.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't see the need necessarily to spend a whole lot of money on the motherboard.
There really isn't. Gaming motherboards are kind of a little bit of a scam. A little bit of snake oil unless you need like very particular features. The important thing is the chipset for overclocking, and they're both Z97 chipsets.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's where I could gain some money back for sure, I think.
Definitely.
Is on the motherboard.
RAM, whatever.
And unless you have very specific use cases, like Jeremiah said, like where you need certain features that one would have and the other wouldn't. But we didn't get anything like that in the specifications. So
on the SSD, I'm definitely going to go with the 240. Like, I feel like that's a good bare minimum. With 120, you can run into management issues.
You
when
will.
Install your, I have the Adobe collection that eats up half of that space anyway.
Oh, yeah. I picked that one in particular because we actually just installed that in my brother's PC, and thanks to jet.com and they're like 15% off for new customers, we got that SSD for like $32 shipped. It was an insane deal.
I mean, yeah, 120s are cheap. They're good.
But if you're going to spend, this much money on the computer, get a good experience out of it. And I feel like putting a little bit more space on your main drive is a good thing, especially if you want to put, a couple of your favorite games on there that are a little bit slower loading on mechanical drives.
Yeah.
All I'm hearing is treat yourself.
If you're going to spend the money, you better enjoy it. Internal, I'm going to go with Jeremiah on that one. I don't think the black's necessary for, any of his given reasons to do it. Video card, I don't think it mattered. There was a price difference. I mean,
the price difference is nothing.
Okay.
And both of us own the Zotac, and we're happy with it. But the gigabyte, I'm sure, is fine too. Like, there's really no big deal.
See who's giving away something free at the time when you buy it. With the case, I'm gonna agree with Jeremiah on that. I do feel like the C70 is a little overkill. You could save some of that money for something else, and same power supply, same Windows.
Unless you want a really fancy case. And there's nothing.
Yeah,
wrong with that.
That's the thing. Neither one would necessarily be the one he wants to go with, but as long as it's a good quality, it's not made out of cheap aluminum or something.
If you wanted, my nightmares from days past.
If he wanted to get a nicer case, but he's not necessarily sold on either of the ones we put up there, I'd recommend a Fractal R5. Very heavily insulated, very quiet case. It's what I'm using now. I upgraded from a 200R to a Fractal R5. They're about $100. So many options and things you can do with that case. Like, it's super nice. It's a little bit slower to build in just because there's so many things you can choose to do, but it has a lot more cable management and sound isolation and all kinds of stuff to be a cool, quiet computer. Like, my computer is basically whisper quiet all the time.
You could get lost searching for cases too. Like, there's so many options out there.
Yeah.
I mean, DIY PC, they've got so many different styles. They do have
some excellent nonsensical colored sweeps in the front. So I think the best thing to do is we send...
I'm going to go with Jeremiah for the winner here. Just saying.
Okay.
I like you, Dave. You're a nice guy.
I'll take the win. But like Dave conceded, there's definitely areas that could be trimmed or cut on both of ours. Like, you could boost some or cut others. Either of these builds is good.
I'd shift money from the motherboard into the storage. I could easily match the storage if I took some out of the motherboard.
Well, make the edit real quick and I'll send it to him.
I think we'll go with yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm lazy.
Again, either of them.
But if you're a student, make sure your school doesn't offer Windows 10 for like a significantly discounted price.
If you can get it for $30, get it for $30. All right. Last email is from Seth. Actually,
it's not the Seth, is it?
No, it's not PC Gamer Nerd 360 Seth. It's Oscar's Elbow. He won Fallout 4 on the Lootcast. He says, tech-related question. In anticipation of playing Fallout and other games, I decided to pick up a new GPU. I went with an EVGA 970. Used to have an AMD 6950, which wasn't keeping pace anymore. He was playing most games on medium settings. The horror, medium settings.
Which still looks better than consoles.
Most of the time.
I'm just saying.
And still more stable frame rate, too.
He's saying, I'm running an AMD 4100 for my CPU. There go the stable frame rates. And thinking about upgrading that as well. I was thinking putting in an 8350 and keeping the same motherboard, or just going Intel and i5 and a new motherboard, but I don't think it would be worth it. Given that I will soon be receiving the new 970, should I think about upgrading the CPU? Money is a thing. I could buy either, but would rather not spend more than necessary to have a solid gaming experience. I game at 1080p, play a little bit of everything. I had to stop GTA 5 because it ran like crap on my system, but looking forward to that again. I am a Seal Slapper. He means he's in the Seal Slappers. I play Battlefield 4, Company of Heroes 2 as well.
Is this a confession or an email?
Thank you. Seth, aka Oscar's not Joel's alter ego, PC gaming nerd 360. Seth, he actually writes that.
Nice.
Okay, so here's the question. He doesn't give us a budget, but he has a AMD 4100, which I'm not trying to laugh, but that's a crappy processor for gaming. That and a 6950, and he's getting a GTX 970. So first question.
He's going to bottleneck.
Yeah, is that 4100 going to bottleneck a 970? Yes. Should he upgrade to an 8350? What do you guys think?
At least, right? I mean,
Yeah, so here's the thing. I had an 8350 2 processors ago. It's an 8 core, which is nice, 4 gigahertz, 8 core. But for gaming, that's not really all that useful. It's really like a hyper-threaded quad core in the way it's made. And it just wasn't all that great. If you have a good motherboard and you can overclock it to like 4.5, that'll help. But any game that shows preference for Intel is going to suck a little more on this processor. It's way better than the one you have, and you can have a much better gaming experience. So if you say, I can only spend $200 on this upgrade, get an FX 8350 and a Hyper 212 if you don't have it, and it'll be much better. If you can spend more, go Intel. Thoughts?
that's pretty much it. I mean,
But here's the thing.
them's your options.
How much more is he going to have to spend, though? Like, at least $330
Yeah,
to go
it's
Intel.
not-
That's you have to spend almost double to go Intel. So how much is that
long
worth
term
it?
though. Like it's kind of the only game in town, and
No, honestly, if you look up real-world comparisons, AMD is good for gaming. The 8350 is not bad for gaming. You will not be getting the ultimate experience you could be getting out of your processor, though. Intel is the place to get that.
right. But he's got a 970. Like I kind of want to pair that with something nice.
Yeah, he's going to, if he's talking about GTA, he's still going to bottleneck with an AMD processor. He's not going to get, I mean, unless he really drops his settings, he's not going to get 60 frames a second.
GTA, no, he could definitely get 60 frames per second.
I'm looking at numbers here, and even with the Titan X,
Well, not on
They
not
weren't
on like
able
the
to-
highest settings. Where are you looking at numbers?
Extreme Tech.
Oh, I've never used them. What, can you send me a link to what you're looking at?
Yep.
Well, here.
Let me just cash this Intel check real quick, and we'll continue the podcast.
Well, no, I'm going to look up, let's see, what's a good recent game? I'll look up Fallout 4, because actually, let's look at Fallout 4. Let's work on it from that angle, because that's a game he's really excited about playing. So,
Cool.
Let's look up some Fallout 4 CPU benchmarks, because everybody likes to test GPUs, but not many places do CPUs. Gamers Nexus, they do. A few other places do. Okay. So a 4690K i5 averages 71 FPS at 1440p Ultra in Fallout 4. 71 FPS. That's with a really awesome graphics card. This is just measuring CPU bottlenecks, okay? 8350 they don't have listed. They have an 8370E. That's a weird choice. Okay, the FX 9590, which is a 4.7 gigahertz processor, is getting 56 FPS. So to put that in comparison, that's a $250 AMD processor on this particular game that is 3 FPS average faster than an i3 4130 dual core. So from looking at that, if Fallout 4 is a big game for you, Intel is the only way to go.
And also, just expect frame drops in general if you turn shadow distance over medium.
Yeah. And then let's look at Grand Theft Auto 5 just as another example. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a lot less platform picky. An FX 8350 will deliver similar results to a 3470, a 2500K. It's a little bit slower than a 4690K, but it's still not bad. So I would say if that's your only choice, like if budget-wise you can't make it work, I mean, an 8350 is good. It looks like your best cheap upgrade might be an i3 and a cheap motherboard. and then if you could spend more, get an i5. So you could always get an i3 and then save up money and get the i5 later if you wanted. Because it looks like for gaming, an i3 is going to actually be pretty darn comparable to that FX 8350, which kind of sucks. I mean, AMD is supposed to have better stuff coming out soon, but it's not here yet.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, though. Ooh. Sorry, I'm excited. This is an option.
Is that what that noise was?
The i3 6100 is from the new line, which can be overclocked with the base clock.
Oh, yeah.
But he has to get DDR4 memory.
Which is a lot cheaper than it used to be.
A lot cheaper than it used to be. So I'm going to throw that in, and let's see what type of motherboard. We're going to go with an El Cheapo motherboard because here, that's the thing, though. There aren't very many super cheap ones. Like a decent one's going to be $100. And then let's see what we can do for memory. I mean, I think he's going to have to get at least 8 gigs. We'll say 8 gigs of memory, $38. So for $264, he has an i3 6100, an ASRock motherboard, and 8 gigs of G.Skill memory. That would be better than the 8350. If you want a real upgrade, you need to go up to a i5, and that's going to run you about $330.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. That's the thing, is we kind of need to know what the budget is. If the budget's $150, you're going AMD. If the budget's $300, you just bought a 970. Maybe he's got some money to throw around. I don't know. But if you can spend $300 or so, I'd say go Intel. What do you guys think?
I agree. Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, I'm reading people's performance on this. They're getting like 35, 40 frames a second.
Mm-hmm.
Driving around with the 8350 and a 970.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's not a bad processor, but they just aren't competitive in the way they need to be right now. I guess is the best way I can describe it.
I mean, games that rely just on the GPU, you're golden.
Yeah.
But when it starts pulling from the CPU, don't play Arma.
Never play Armor or Daisy.
Given that an i3 delivers similar performance for actually less money, like go with that. The thing is, I lost my train of thought.
Well, the good thing about if he does go with the i3 for now,
Mm-hmm.
until you can save up some money, the Intels hold a little bit more retail value
They
than
do.
the AMDs.
That's true.
For selling it on eBay or something.
No, that's very true. You could probably flip it in a little while and still make a decent amount of money off of it. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add?
No.
Slap a seal with us sometime.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Everything's good. Thank you guys for coming out. Anybody who we answered your question, if you feel like we didn't have all the information we needed to make a good decision, or you need to ask follow-up questions, email us back. I will answer as quick as I can. If I need input from these guys, like if we need some opinions on some stuff, I'll ask them. Otherwise, you can be a part of the show by writing into casualshenanigans@gmail.com, or go to casualshenanigans.com, and there's a contact us button. You can just fill out your question and it sends it right to us. About half the people who write in do that. So thanks for writing in. We are recording this about once a month, just because that's when we get this many questions come in. So what do you guys think about going to like every 2 weeks and just making them shorter? Like doing a 30-minute episode every 2 weeks. I feel bad that people are waiting this long to get their questions answered.
That's true. Yeah,
I have some ideas.
Oh, you do?
A bit split. Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about off
All right,
air.
we'll take it off air because they're terrible.
Ooh.
Always terrible. You throw away at least 75% of my good ideas.
Way more than that of mine. I throw away 95% of Joel's. Of course, most of his ideas are like, what if we were just naked and covered in leather? And I'm just joking, guys. Ha 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 ha. No one thought that was a good idea.
He said as he emptied the leather from his shopping cart on Amazon.
Adult costumes. All right. Anyway, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for being a part of the show. And as always,
Yeah.
stay casual.